There's a statistic out there that says 85 to 90% of teachers in the United States have never heard of or have no idea about what international schools are and the opportunities in international teaching. I'm Mark Weber, and I'm the director of Weber's Ed, an international recruitment and placement company that helps teachers find jobs in Mexico, Central America, South America, and throughout the Caribbean. And I want to do a video series for you to introduce you to international schools and international teaching in case you think that this might be an opportunity for you. I too was a teacher that taught in the United States for 11 years until someone introduced me to international teaching. And now I've been out here on the international circuit for 20 years and I have no regrets. So let me share this best kept secret with you, and let's see if this is something that might be for you. So the 2019 statistics from ISC research say that currently around the world there are 10,293 schools out there. Now, this of course was in 2019, and they say 10 years from now there will be 17,368 schools out there. Just to give you an idea, that number of students that attend those schools is around 4 million, and it'll probably move much closer to 5 million in the near future. That means that within 10 years, they're also going to need 400,000 more teachers to fill the roles in these schools. So let me tell you first of all what an international school is and why they have international schools, because that was the first concept that I had to get my head around when I first started international teaching. But it seems quite intuitive. There are international corporations out there, there are diplomats and people that live internationally that come from the United States, that come from Europe, that come from the UK, and they want places for their children to go to school that are similar to the private schools that they possibly attended, or even the good public schools that they attended back in their own country. And so they started these schools over 100 years ago. In fact, I worked at the American School in Mexico City, which is over 100 years old. It's one of the oldest international schools in the world. And this was started by Americans who wanted a format of education that was similar to what their students had back home. Well, over the years, these international schools have gained in popularity and success with teaching students, and also a lot of international students who they want to attend universities in the United States and Canada and the UK. They also see the benefit of attending these international schools. For many years, it was illegal in some of these countries for local students to attend those international schools. But the government saw that that was probably not a good proposition for their own students, because they were stopping their students from being able to gain this successful education that they were getting in the international schools, that was also helping them to go on to universities in foreign countries. And so you will see that a lot of the countries have relaxed their laws, and there's a huge influx of local students now attending those international schools. So much so that some of the schools have had to put quotas on the local attendees, just so that there's not an overbalance or an unbalancing of those students from the local host country attending the schools, and the schools can keep their international flavor. Okay, so that's basically how international schools came into existence. But as you can see from the statistics I quoted you at the top of this video, that these schools are rapidly gaining popularity throughout the world, and this is something that is going to have bring opportunities for educators like you and I around the world. So The second thing that you want to probably ask is, well, why do these teachers want to teach internationally? And I know that there's still a lot of people, even though we live in the world of the internet, that think that if I live in Mexico, I'm going to be riding a burro to school with a sombrero on and some tortillas in a little knapsack in my backpack. That's not actually how you live internationally. In fact, what a lot of people have found is that living internationally can be a lot more lucrative and a lot more comfortable than living back in their home countries. But there's really two sides to this equation here. And some of the other reasons that teachers want to come out and teach internationally, and I just got an email about this yesterday from a very, very highly skilled maths teacher coming from the United States. And he says, you know, I love teaching, but I'm tired of teaching to the test. I'm tired of teaching in the bureaucratic environment that we're experiencing in the United States, and I don't want to leave the profession, so I'm looking for something new. And so that's where I get a lot of my candidates to place in the schools, is simply that they're fed up with it. They're tired of what's going on in education in their home country, and they're looking for something new. You know, they're teaching to the test, they're being overworked, they're being underpaid, and they're certainly being underappreciated. And so a lot of these candidates are ready to come out and give it a try in international teaching. But there's more to international teaching than that. A lot of people come out to do international teaching for the lifestyle. The salary and benefits in international teaching is usually as lucrative in overseas countries, if not more, than it is in your home country. Because not only do you get the salary, and in some cases it's a tax-free salary, including tax-free in the United States, because teachers that are out teaching abroad making a foreign income are tax exempt up to $101,000 a year. So if they're working in a country also that doesn't charge them any taxes because they're a foreign worker, well, then they get it coming and going. But the second thing is, a lot of the schools, and depending on which countries you go to, and also the package that they offer you, will also give housing with the benefits. So that might be either come in the form of a housing allowance, or it might come in the form of an already set up an apartment that's fully furnished and ready to go. And so those are definitely things that are enticing to a teacher coming abroad. But not only that, they get their insurance paid for. A lot of times they get their transportation paid for. One of the things that is most common is that a school will provide the teacher or the teacher and their family round trip tickets back home again every summer, and then they come back the following year for the next year of school. And also in transportation, you might also get free transportation to school every day. Or in one of the situations that I worked in, we were just given our own cars, and each and every teacher was assigned a car, just like some schools assign you a laptop. And we kept the cars up during the years that we were teaching at the school, and then when we finished, we turned them back in. And then sometimes there's other bonuses that come with that, like a forced retirement savings account. Sometimes the schools have to match that savings account. And so that can be very lucrative savings that all comes back to you when you decide to leave your posting in that country, and you'll get that money back. But another thing that a lot of teachers come out for that can be very lucrative for them, if you just think about what this would cost you back home, is they do it for the education of their children. And I know that there's some people out there that say, well, I can't do this. I have children. There are people who do this just because they have children. Think about being able to afford your child a K through 12 private school education in one of the best schools in your country. Okay? And so that is a very big determining factor in regards to lifestyle as to why people come out and do international teaching. Another reason that they do it is the professional development and the professional opportunities. I worked in a very, very good public high school in Houston, Texas, and we had decent professional development opportunities, but nothing like what I've been given while I've been out in international teaching. I've worked for directors of schools who have written books on inclusion. I did Understanding by Design workshop with Jay McTighe, the guy who actually wrote Understanding by Design, the whole concept of backwards planning. I got to take the Collaborative Schools workshop from Bob Garmston, the guy who wrote the book. I mean, I happened to be in a very good situation when I was teaching in Kuala Lumpur at a school that is considered one of the top tier schools in the world, and they were very, very big on the professional development that they gave us, and this is something that really helped me to advance my career. But not only that, the professional development alone, some of the schools will pay for you to go on and get your master's degree because they're promoting having teachers with a master's degree in their school. And they see that if you're going to stay at the school for a few years, it not only benefits the school in appearances, but it benefits the students in the classroom to pay for that type of professional development for teachers. And in addition to that, the other things that people like is that they get to learn international curriculum, like the IB curriculums, the IGCSE curriculum that is now starting to become very, very popular in the United States and Canada and other places that you might be coming from. And so there's that opportunity out there. But the one that I see a lot of people coming to Latin America for is to be able to make that next step and move into administration. A lot of teachers see their end game in the industry of education as becoming an administrator, either because that's something that they desire to do, or they'd like to make more money, or they just simply like to play a better, bigger key role in a school. And so there's a lot of opportunities because people are moving on after 3 or 4 years from a school. There's opportunities for teachers to step into those administrative roles that are being left behind. And so that's another very big opportunity that you have when you go out there in international teaching. And then one of the last reasons that I want to talk about is the culture and the travel. And this is actually statistically on the surveys that we've seen from ISC research and from other sources, the number one reason that international teachers come out in teaching. And that's to visit other cultures and get opportunities to travel. Because if you're teaching back home on a teacher's salary, you're really not going to get that far on whatever expendable cash that you have left at the end of the year to go on vacation. And so when you're living in the middle of Malaysia and you live in Kuala Lumpur, which is a major hub for all of Southeast Asia, it's very easy to hop on a plane for $100 and go to Cambodia and see Angkor Wat and Bayonne and some of the most beautiful structures and cities that you've only read about in books or only seen on TV. So that's a very, very big, attractive feature for international teachers to come out and enter the realm of international teaching. But not going beyond learning about other cultures and seeing places that you've only seen on TV and books is the opportunity to learn other languages. And that's something that we in the United States are very insular about, is that we expect everybody else to speak English, but we don't want to really learn other languages. And believe me, I want to learn. I'm just kind of a slow learner, but I finally am coming around to becoming fluent in Spanish after many, many years. But the fact of the matter is that's a great achievement for me. Someone else might achieve 3 or 4 languages. My wife speaks 4 languages fluently, and every single day she has to work and write and read in Spanish. and she's from the UK. And so, but that's great practice for her, not only in just learning a language, but learning about another culture. But the other thing that I wanted to throw in under this part of culture and travel are the social opportunities that you will have in other countries. Meeting diplomats and dignitaries. As I told you at the top of this video, there are lots of people out there that are bringing their kids to our schools that are coming from diplomatic channels. And so you get an opportunity to meet and know these people personally. You might get the opportunity to know leaders and heads of countries, people that you would never come into contact if you had stayed back in the United States or the UK. Lots of important artists and people who do things in the community, and they are connected either to your school or they're connected to the international community, the circle in which you move. And so you get to go to some really great parties and rub elbows with people that you would have never had the chance to encounter someone of that magnitude back in your home country. And so it's really all about just seeing a different perspective. So the last thing I want to say before I close out this video is, where do these schools exist? Basically, they exist all over the world. Anywhere that there might be a multinational corporation or a multinational organization. So you can go and you can find these schools all over Europe. You can find them throughout Asia. In fact, Asia is the hotbed right now. China is probably building more schools every single year than the rest of the international community put together, probably only seconded by the Middle East. And then there's Africa. And if you think about the number of countries in Africa, which is over 50, there are several international schools in every single one of those countries. And some of them, in fact, one of the top schools I taught at was in the Sudan, in Africa. And I still to this day hold it up as an example for international schools. And then, of course, I don't want to leave out Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, because that's my specialty. In fact, I'm talking to you right now from my office on the coast of Colombia in a small city called Barranquilla. This is where Shakira's from, and this is where I live. In fact, I volunteer at her foundation school, Pies Descalzos, on a weekly basis, coaching their debate team. And so that's basically the basics of what an international school is and what international teaching is. And hopefully this gives you a good overview of what to look for if you are interested in international teaching. But like I said, I'm going to follow this up with other videos about how you can get into international teaching if it's something that interests you. And if it is something that you're dying to learn more about right away after this video, just go to my website, www.webersed, that's with two B's, webersed.com. And there are lots of pages that I have on there for educators to learn more about international teaching. But like I said, I'm going to follow up with more videos. I'm Mark Weber, Director of Weber's Ed. Thank you for taking the time to listen.